All of those are actual samples, or impulse responses, of real speakers, microphones, spaces and covers. Actual recording sessions in dozens of homes, recording studios, museums, a bunch of bathrooms and a dark forest. Over the course of 4 years we have acquired many hundreds of them and captured their peculiarities using various techniques previously used in Altiverb. Here you see a couple of examples. 32 guitar amps and cabinets, the vintage ones sampled in the US, the modern ones in Germany, most using 4 different microphone positions. Many phones, from antiques that hadn't made a sound since World War II to an iPhone. Radios from Gerard Tel's collection and the Norwegian Radio Museum. Husky Huskolds, producer of some of the more exotic sounds on Tom Waits albums, gave us his cabinet of special megaphones and 78 RPM horns. And since Speakerphone, we at Audio Ease have a real mission at flea markets. If a toy has a speaker, buy it. Some of them sadly didn't make it through the session in one piece though. And then there's microphones. If you want a royal ribbon in front of the guitar cabinet or a true announcer piezo microphone, they're there. Alright, now let me just briefly run you from top to bottom through the plugin. Up here we have a preset browser with hundreds of presets. Below that there's automatable single-click recall snapshots. The speaker module with hundreds of speakers ranging from tiny piezos to rock show PAs. Click more info to find out more about any of them. There's rollover help on each of these modules. Here's a distortion with pre-EQ. Next to it is a microphone emulation module, so you can insert exotic microphones or regular studio microphones. And here's a convolution reverb with many spaces mostly taken from Altiverb.
Nächste Station, Alexanderplatz.
Some small spaces here.
U5, U8, zum Metrotram und zum Regional- und Fernverkehr. Ausstieg links. Nächste Station, Alexanderplatz. Übergang zu den U-Bahnlinien U2, U5, U8,
Spring
zum
reverb
Metrotram und
for the
zum
guitar
Regional-
amps.
und Fernverkehr. Ausstieg
Outdoor.
links. Nächste Station, Alexanderplatz. Übergang zu den U-Bahnlinien U2.
The cover module that allows you to cover up your sounds.
On hands and knees, we crawl.
Using towels or bottles.
Eyeballs are scared. We will not let you
A paper
in.
cup.
On hands and knees, we crawl. You cannot stop.
Vacuum cleaner hoses.
Our bones are scared.
And you can tune these covers, their resonances. You can pitch them down
On hands and knees,
or up.
we crawl.
There's low and high pass filters with resonance. And parametric EQs. Then there's the crush module for bit reduction and sample rate reduction. Works nicely in this preset here, which is called K2 Summit to Base Camp. Then of course there is dynamic modules like gate and compressor. The gate is here and the compressor is next to it. Then there's a gramophone simulator with clicks and pops and a wow simulator to simulate off-center holes in a record. And here's a rotating speaker module, a Leslie. Here's a dry organ. I'll add some room. And select a real Leslie speaker. And then make it rotate. More modulation effects are in this one: tremolo, chorus, flanger, phaser and vibrato. All of these effects are top-notch. They're small but are really good. In fact, you may be inserting speakerphone just for its reverb or its phaser. Like all the times in speakerphone, you can lock them to the beat of your song. And then there's the telecom module. That one is something else. You've already heard the liquid degradation type codec. Well, there's GSM compression and decompression as well.
Maybe it's too early. We should set that later. Why don't you give me a call tomorrow and we'll set it up?
That's here,
Sure.
with drop frames and all.
Okay. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I don't know. Maybe it's too early. We should set that later. Sure. Okay.
You can abuse them to make robot voices.
I don't know. Maybe it's too early. We should set that later. Why don't you call tomorrow and we'll set it up?
Here we have a stereo delay with an EQ in the feedback chain. And here's a radio receiver dial.
I don't know. Maybe it's too early. Why don't you give me tomorrow and we'll set it up? Sure. Okay. Talk to you tomorrow then.
All parameters of speakerphone are automatable.
I don't know. Maybe it's too...
But apart from that, you can control them using LFOs, low frequency oscillators. There's 4 of them in speakerphone. Just drag to make a connection and then adjust its range with the little circles. Or with the needles. The combination of these modules and the LFOs can create virtually living presets. Or this one. Or here. The LFOs are now controlling the distortions pre-EQ. And that brings us to the final and biggest module, the sample bay, down here in speakerphone. Carl Anderson is a respected recordist and editor of sound effects of movies of, amongst others, Jim Jarmusch, Robert De Niro and Woody Allen. About 5 gigabytes of sounds are installed with speakerphone, over half of which come from Carl. That's 8 CDs worth of matched and looped 24-bit sound effects and ambiences to provide some context for the speakers. And samples have never been more accessible either. You go to them via speakerphone's sample bay, and it works like this. Click on a sample and it plays. Drag its handle to adjust volume and operate its panner. These columns here, which we call sample packs, correspond with the octaves of a MIDI keyboard, so you can play these sounds from your MIDI keyboard or from your sequencer's tracks. If I click on the heading of a sample pack, I can insert another sample pack. Browsing, I see nature, city and transportation, electricity and noise, people, crowds and footsteps, radio and megaphone sounds, too much to mention really. All these are intended to either sound through the speaker or to surround the speaker, which is the difference between pre and post here. There's even 24 tracks of right-free music from proudmusic.com, free for you to use in any production. And it's easy to add your own sounds. Just drag them from the Finder or your Pro Tools tracks into a sample pack. And you can add entire folders of samples by using the browser. Perhaps you have an iLife sound effects folder on your drive. You can add them all. Load them up. If you want to start and stop these sounds in sync with your production, you have several options. You can either hook up your MIDI keyboard and play and record it on a MIDI track, or add them on your MIDI track directly, or you can grab a sample and simply drag it to your sequencer tracks. This dragging can be done from the Finder to the sample bay, from the sample bay to the Finder, and from tracks to the sample bay and to the Finder. I guess the sample bay brings us to the bottom of speakerphone. Thanks for listening for the past 22 minutes, but there's more to listen to on the website. There's specific music demos and guitar demos and post-pro demos, so enjoy the rest of the site, and thank you for listening. Bye.